This is the biggest patch ever. Any other creators who have said that in their past videos, they're liars. They were lying to you. Seriously, this shit's crazy. So let's just jump right in with the first card that got changed, America Chavez. It's a totally new card. Nothing like the old one, totally new. She's now a 2 energy 3 power card with the on reveal of give the top card of your deck plus 2 power. Now the devs mentioned that they were troubled by the play rate of America Chavez, and on top of the fact that no one actually plays Chavez out in a game. And they said the change to America Chavez was to be targeted towards newer players because it is a Series 1 card, and they want people to test around with potential combos and stuff that the new version of America Chavez could enable. So overall, cool timing. I guess with some of the other cards, you'll see some of the changes here in a minute. Also with Sebastian Shaw, I suppose, maybe? But yeah, I actually don't think it's going to have too huge of an impact. I think most of the decks, how they are right now, probably won't change much. And also, I like the fact that it makes people think a bit more about deck building.
I'm getting an idea! No, false alarm.
But yeah, any deck that had America Chavez before, it's not like they're not going to exist anymore. They're just going to have a different 12th card. And, yeah. But yeah. I think my guess about where Chavez goes nowadays is sort of like, do you consider Forge for your deck? Yeah, you probably consider Chavez too. Who knows? Maybe this makes Brood Patriot decks top of the meta again. Elith is next up. Rejoice. So the change here, which is he's now a 2 power card that only destroys unrevealed cards. This is basically what most people have been suggesting for Elaheh. The devs basically said as much. They were like, this is, it's still a good closer, I guess you could say. And also what he was at before was more frustrating rather than being too statistically powerful. Because if you looked at some of the top ranked cards in Marvel Snap, Elith was like just breaking the top 10 on most winning cards in Marvel Snap. There are a lot of other cards you wouldn't suspect, like Sauron, for instance, that were actually much better statistically than Elith. But like the devs say here, it's a frustrating card, so that's seemingly the biggest catalyst for this change. As far as the future for Elith goes, is he still going to be playable? Probably. Is he going to be good? I have no idea. What do you think? Leave your comment in the section below. Luke Cage. Luke Cage is now a 2 energy 3 power card that only stops the reduction of power in his lane. But now the game is totally different than when Luke Cage was initially introduced. And generic Tet cards that protect your whole board, they said they wanted to move away from a little bit. So Luke Cage now gets an additional power and only protects 1 lane. So C2 is dead, Cerebro 2. Sorry nerds, but your bad deck is super bad now. Overall, I can still see Luke Cage being totally plausible and decent. Colossus, it's not like Colossus was good in the slightest, but now he for sure doesn't have any reason to be played by anyone except for the fact that maybe you don't have Luke Cage. But overall, I think the decks that are going to want Luke Cage are decks that basically ongoing decks, Man-Thing decks that run Lizard will now consider Luke Cage. Now I picture Luke Cage as sort of like Armor. Armor is very good in certain decks. Not a lot of decks want it, but when Armor is warranted in a deck, it's really solid. And I feel like Luke Cage is going to fall into the same basket. Next up is Shadow King. Shadow King basically got a 1 power reduction. He's now a 2/2 instead of a 2/3. Same text, same everything. They basically are doing this because of the change to Luke Cage. Luke Cage no longer protects your whole board from effects like Shadow King, so they wanted to bring down Shadow King a little bit to compensate for that change. I would say this is good for Cerebro 2, but Luke Cage is no longer playable in Cerebro 2, so that sucks. But yeah, I don't really think this is going to change too much, to be quite honest, so let's move on to the next card. Next up is Elsa Bloodstone. Now this one's pretty interesting. So there's 2 changes here. First, she's now a 3 power card instead of a 2 power card. And second, she says after you play a card that fills this location, give it plus 2 power. Now I need to clarify here that this does mean that Brood will get the plus 2 power for Elsa Bloodstone. Before, if you played a Mr. Sinister or a Brood or a Squirrel Girl or something like that and it filled the lane, that would not get the power. According to the devs, they should now. Also, the functionality to Elsa is changed. It's the reason why Brood will now get the trigger. It's because they changed the functionality to be more similar to Angela than what Elsa was. Basically, you know, when you have Angela on the board and you play a card, it flips, and then Angela does her little ching and gets her power. Well, Elsa's gonna act similarly to Angela, basically. Before, you would have the Elsa, you play something in that last slot into a lane, it would get the buff and then flip over. Now, it's going to be like Angela, where you play the card, it flips, and then she's going to hit it with the buff. Oh, also, last change, another change, it says this location. So it doesn't, if you have Elsa in your left lane, she's not going to buff the stuff that gets put into the right lane. It's only this location. So theoretically, she's a 2/5 effectively. But if you use cards like Nightcrawler, Jeff, Vision, you can move them and re-trigger her again. So what does this mean for how good she's going to be? I don't know, honestly. It could be still really solid, I think, in decks that use cards like Nightcrawler, Jeff, and Vision. Maybe she's played in Surfer decks that run Brood and stuff like that. I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of playtesting that needs to happen with Elsa to see exactly where she falls in terms of strength. I'm going to be honest, I forgot to make a slide for Kitty Pryde, but Kitty Pryde is now our 1 power, same everything. So yeah, let's just move on from that. Kitty Pryde now has 1 power. Next card. The Ebony Blade from, what's his name? The Black Knight. Now it's basically un-Shang-Chiable, and you can't Shadow King it to reduce its power. It's got its own armor and Luke Cage built into it. The devs basically said Black Knight was a little weak, mostly because of cards like Shang-Chi and Shadow Knight, and they were messing around with different ways to make the card better, and they landed on this. I do really like this change. I like Black Knight as a card. I think it's cool, and I want that sort of deck to be better. And this, it's going to do that. It's going to make the deck better. Is it going to make it like a super good top meta performer? Probably not, but it's certainly better. All right, Ravonna Renslayer's up next, and same text, same everything. She just now has 3 power. The devs specifically stated that they wanted to help out Cerebro with this change. Sure, I guess it makes Cerebro, Iron Man, and Mystique better. And now your Luke Cage doesn't need to get basted. So yeah, I can see all that working out. But aside from that, I don't think this is going to change too much. Yes, 2 power is a bit of a buff. But like if you made Zabu a 3 power card, would it really like, you know, break Zabu or make it like, oh my god, this is so much better? No, the main reason you're using it is for the cost reduction. So yeah, it's going to make Ravonna decks slightly better. It's going to make one deck in particular better. But overall, I don't think this is going to shake anything up. And last up, why do they keep doing this? Why? Thanos isn't even that good. They changed the Mind Stone. Mind Stone used to say it draws 2 stones from your deck. Now it just draws 2 1-cost cards. Now, yeah, ultimately, I guess you can build your deck to only have 2 drops, no other 1 drops, and it's effectively the same card. Sure, but what's the point of restricting Thanos decks like that? They weren't even good. They weren't good. What? I mean, they're okay, but were they deserving of yet another change? No. What the hell? Yeah, I mean, fine. Basically, what this means is you can't run Nico in your Thanos decks anymore, and if you do, you might draw it every now and then. But yeah, that's all this means. I don't understand it. Why? The only other actual like gameplay fixes and or changes they made is the Phoenix Force now can move if you make a copy of the Phoenix Force, i.e. multiple man. If you do the multiple man thing, they can move around now. The copies can. So that might be really crazy, actually. Oh, yeah, I guess there were some other changes. Stegron is now 6 power. Arrow is now 9 power. And they changed the functionality of moving cards like Juggernaut, Spider-Man, stuff like that. Basically, the gist of it, you can check out the patch notes if you want a very long-winded explanation for it. But in general, they are making it to where unrevealed cards can't be moved. All right, that's it. Let me know your thoughts of the changes here. I mean, this is crazy. There's a lot of stuff changed, and it's a lot of stuff that it's like, well, I actually don't know how this is going to change things up, and I don't know what the meta is going to look like a week from now. So what are your thoughts? Leave them in the section below. But that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Later on, nerds. Why?